FAR.F4.M3.
Jenna, I think this module has a reputation that scares people more than it should. Everyone hears long-term liabilities and immediately imagines endless present value tables and calculator punches.
That's exactly why this module is so important. The calculations matter, but Becker is trying to teach something bigger. Long-term liabilities are really about one simple question. If someone promises to pay money far into the future, what is that promise worth today?
So instead of thinking, I'm borrowing $1 million, we should be thinking, what's the present economic value of that promise?
Exactly. And once you understand that idea, notes payable, leases, bonds, pensions, and several other topics all start feeling like members of the same family instead of completely different chapters.
I like that. It's almost like every long-term liability is speaking a different language, but they're all using the same grammar.
That's a great analogy. The grammar is present value and effective interest. The vocabulary changes depending on whether you're talking about notes, bonds, or leases.
So before we get lost in formulas, let's build the map Becker wants us to have.
Long-term liabilities are probable future sacrifices of economic benefits associated with present obligations that are not payable within the current operating cycle or within 1 year, whichever is greater.
The key phrase there isn't long-term, it's present obligation.
Exactly. The obligation already exists today, the payment simply happens later.
That's an easy thing to overlook. Time changes when cash moves. It doesn't change when the obligation begins.
And Becker gives examples that fit into this category. Things like long-term promissory notes, bonds payable, long-term leases, certain contingent liabilities, purchase commitments, deferred compensation, post-retirement obligations, and even certain short-term debt that qualifies for refinancing treatment.
So, this isn't one isolated accounting topic.
Not at all. It's a foundation that supports several other FAR modules.
Now, Becker also mentioned something interesting before getting into notes payable. Some financial instruments look partly like debt and partly like equity.
That's because not every financing arrangement fits neatly into one box. Some instruments legally require repayment, making them liabilities, while others have equity characteristics. Becker simply wants you to recognize that not every financial instrument is pure debt or pure ownership.
Kind of like a hybrid vehicle. It isn't purely gasoline, and it isn't purely electric.
That's a helpful comparison. Just remember, the accounting still depends on the legal rights and obligations of the instrument.
Now, let's tackle the section everyone associates with this chapter.
Time value of money.
Honestly, that phrase sounds more intimidating than it deserves.
Because it's really just common sense.
Money today is worth more than identical money years from now.
Exactly. If I offered you $100 today or $100 5 years from now, most people would choose today, because today's money can be invested and earn a return.
So, time has value.
And interest is how we measure that value.
I think students sometimes memorize formulas without appreciating what they're doing.
That's the trap. Every present value calculation is simply moving future dollars back into today's dollars. Every future value calculation moves today's dollars forward through time.
Almost like translating between two different dates.
I like that analogy.
The money itself doesn't change. You're translating its value depending on when it exists.
Exactly.
Becker separates these concepts into several categories.
You'll see present value of one amount, future value of one amount, present value of an ordinary annuity, present value of an annuity due, future value of an ordinary annuity, and future value of an annuity due.
That list looks overwhelming until you realize there are really only 2 questions.
Go ahead.
Question 1. Is there one payment or many payments? Question 2. Do we move money forward through time or backward through time?
That's an excellent mental shortcut. Most students get lost because they memorize 6 formulas instead of recognizing those 2 decisions.
Now, let's talk about annuities.
An annuity simply means equal payments made at regular intervals.
The confusing part isn't the payments.
It's the timing.
Exactly.
An ordinary annuity has payments at the end of each period.
An annuity due has payments at the beginning.
One tiny difference.
But a huge accounting consequence.
Because every payment in an annuity due happens one period sooner, each payment gets discounted one less period.
Here's my analogy. Imagine you're walking down a staircase. An ordinary annuity starts one step lower. An annuity due starts one step higher because you began earlier.
That's helpful, because it explains why the annuity due always has a larger present value than an otherwise identical ordinary annuity.
Earlier money keeps more of its value.
Exactly.
Becker also includes an important passkey about adjusting interest rates.
This is something students miss surprisingly often. If interest compounds more frequently than annually, both the interest rate and the number of periods have to be adjusted consistently.
That's one of those questions where everything looks fine until you notice quarterly or semi-annual compounding.
Exactly. The math only works when the interest rate and the number of periods describe the same time interval.
Then Becker gives another passkey that I think is even more important conceptually.
The relationship between present value and future value.
They're opposites.
Yes. Present value discounts. Future value compounds. They're inverse ideas.
So instead of memorizing separate worlds, think of them as driving the same road in opposite directions.
Perfect.
Now, let's move into notes payable.
A note payable is a contractual promise to pay money. Unlike many trade payables, notes frequently include stated interest and specific payment dates.
Here's something Becker spends time explaining. Sometimes the stated interest isn't the real economic interest.
Exactly. If the stated rate is unreasonable or no interest is stated at all, accounting doesn't simply pretend borrowing became free.
That would make no economic sense.
Instead, the note is recorded at present value using an appropriate market rate. That's called imputing interest.
So accounting is asking, what would this borrowing have looked like if unrelated parties negotiated it in the marketplace?
That's exactly the idea.
The legal document may say one thing. Economic reality may say another.
And financial statements are trying to reflect the economic substance.
I love that phrase. Substance over form.
It's one of the recurring themes throughout financial accounting.
Then comes effective interest. Honestly, I think students fear this more than they should.
Probably because they try memorizing every journal entry before understanding what effective interest is actually doing.
So what is it doing?
Every period, interest expense reflects the market's required return based on the carrying amount at the beginning of that period.
Not necessarily the cash payment.
Correct. Cash and interest expense can differ because discounts or premiums are gradually disappearing over the life of the note.
Here's another analogy. Imagine rolling a snowball downhill. Each period starts with whatever size the snowball currently is. Interest grows from today's size, not yesterday's original size.
That's actually a useful way to picture carrying value. Interest follows the carrying amount. As carrying value changes, interest changes too.
And that's why effective interest is considered conceptually superior.
Exactly. It reflects economic reality each period.
Now, Becker also introduces debt covenants. These don't involve present value at all.
No. Debt covenants are promises borrowers make to lenders. They're designed to protect the lender's interests.
So instead of promising future payments, you're promising future behavior.
Exactly. A lender may require minimum liquidity, limit additional borrowing, restrict dividends, require certain financial ratios, or impose other operating restrictions.
Kind of like renting an apartment. You don't just promise to pay rent. You also promise not to damage the property or violate certain rules.
That's a strong analogy. The lender isn't only worried about getting today's payment, they're worried about preserving their chance of getting every future payment.
And then comes technical default.
This is another concept students confuse. Technical default doesn't necessarily mean the borrower missed a payment. It means one of the contractual covenant requirements was violated.
So, someone could make every interest payment on time.
And still violate the loan agreement because a required ratio wasn't maintained.
That sounds serious.
It certainly can be, although Becker points out that many technical defaults are resolved through negotiation rather than immediate acceleration of the debt.
So, lenders often care more about fixing the problem than instantly collecting every dollar.
Exactly. Especially if the borrower remains financially viable.
Let's zoom back out. What's the big picture of this module?
Everything connects through one central idea. Future payments have present values. Once we determine today's value of those obligations, accounting systematically updates them over time.
Present value establishes where we begin. Effective interest explains how the obligation evolves.
Exactly. Then, later modules simply apply those same ideas to different financial instruments.
So, when we reach bonds, we shouldn't feel like we're starting over.
Not at all. Bonds are really another application of concepts you've already learned here.
Same grammar, different vocabulary.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, let's do a rapid review. Money today is generally worth more than identical money tomorrow.
Present value moves future cash backward. Future value moves current cash forward.
One payment versus many payments tells you whether you're dealing with a single amount or an annuity.
Beginning versus end of the period tells you whether it's an annuity due or an ordinary annuity.
Interest rate and number of periods have to match the compounding interval.
Notes without reasonable stated interest are recorded using present value with an appropriate market rate.
Effective interest follows carrying value.
Debt covenants protect lenders by restricting borrower behavior.
And technical default isn't necessarily missing a payment. It can simply mean violating one of those contractual promises.
If you leave this episode remembering one thing, let it be this. Don't memorize isolated formulas. Understand that long-term liabilities are all different versions of the same story. Determine today's value of future obligations. Then let accounting explain how that value changes over time.
Once that mental model clicks, the rest of FAR starts feeling much more connected.
And that's exactly the foundation Becker is trying to build before you move into the remaining liability topics.